Chapter 101: The Backbone of the Family. After a period of recuperation, Derek was discharged from the hospital. He returned to York residence. Every day, the Yorks did their best to console him. Caspian had stepped on Derek's manhood and broken it. After the treatment he received, his health had improved, but he could no longer function in that aspect. Having lost an integral part of his identity as a man, Derek was demoralized and dejected. "Derek, even though the doctors in South Lake City can't treat you, we shouldn't lose hope. We'll find better doctors for you. We can go abroad. No matter what it takes, we'll find a way," Nadia declared. "Caspian, that bastard," Derek snarled viciously. "He did this to me. He made me less of a man. I won't let him get away with this. Don't worry, someone's dealing with Caspian already. He might even be dead by now," Nadia growled through gritted teeth. "Are you sure, Grandma? Is Caspian really dead?" Derek asked in shock. "We haven't told you about it yet, Derek. Yesterday, we spent $200 million to hire professional hitmen to kill Caspian. We're making him pay for what he did to you," Dawn said. "What? $200 million? How can that bastard, Caspian, be worth $200 million? Derek exclaimed. "Caspian's a lot more powerful than we thought. Even the flying dragons couldn't do anything to him. We had no choice but to hire professional hitmen," Dawn explained. "In any case, $200 million is nothing for our family. Is the hitman we hired any good?" Derek checked. Having been in the hospital all this while, he did not know anything about the goings on outside. "Of course. We hired Dark Blades, the 8th on the list of top hitmen," Samuel declared. "Dark Blades," Derek repeated. "The hitman squad whose name alone strikes fear into people's hearts. I heard that no one has ever escaped from their clutches." "That's right. Since Dark Blades will be going after Caspian, he's doomed," Samuel stated. "Death is still too light of a punishment." Derek fumed. If he could, he would have chosen to rip Caspian into pieces himself. "Caspian's too full of himself. Does he truly think we, the Yorks, can't do anything to him?" Nadia sneered. Just then, the family's butler, Benedict, came running in while shouting, "Bad news. Something terrible has happened." "What is it, Mr. York? Why are you so flustered?" Nadia asked. "I just received the latest news. Caspian defeated Dark Blades. He killed them," Benedict cried out in a panic. Upon hearing the news, everyone was dumbstruck. "What? How's that possible? How could Caspian kill off Dark Blades? What on earth happened?" Nadia could not believe it. How could a squad of hitmen as strong as Dark Blades lose to Caspian? "It's true. Not a single member of Dark Blades survived," Benedict emphasized. The Yorks were dumbfounded, especially Derek. Just moments ago, he claimed that dying at the hands of Dark Blades was too light of a punishment for Caspian. In the end, it was Dark Blades who died at Caspian's hands. "Didn't they say that Dark Blades have never failed a mission before? What exactly happened? How did Caspian kill all 8 of them?" Nadia asked. "I don't know the full details either. I only received the news from the Inspector General's office. They've taken away the bodies of the Dark Blades members," Benedict reported. "Even Dark Blades couldn't defeat Caspian. Looks like he's a lot more terrifying than we thought," Samuel remarked in shock. "I heard that Caspian and Joey Sanders from the Inspector General's office massacred over 200 people from the Flying Dragons and the Shadow Tigers at the Rocky Den," Benedict continued. He relayed all the information he had gathered. All at once, everyone was flabbergasted. "How's that possible? Caspian and Joel, just the 2 of them, were able to crush the Flying Dragons and the Shadow Tigers. Derek never expected Caspian to be that skilled." "That's right. They slaughtered so many people that both gangs tried to make a hasty retreat, but Jaden Chance was the only one who escaped," Benedict reported. All color drained out of Derek's face. He was the one who got the Flying Dragons to kill Lilith, Caspian's foster mother. If Caspian was coming after those involved, Derek's head would be one of the first ones on the chopping block. "Caspian's a serious threat to us. We only have 2 days left. If we can't get rid of him in the next 2 days, the York family will truly be in danger," Benedict warned. After hearing what Benedict said, Even Nadia was panicking. Mom, we're at our wits' end now. We need to tell Zachary about this right away. Get him to save the family or we'll all be done for. Samuel urged. That's right. If we don't tell Zachary about this, we'll lose our final chance to settle things. The other Yorks agreed with Samuel. I'll call Zachary right now, Nadia said. She had no other options left. The York family had been backed into a corner. Under these perilous circumstances, if she refused to get in touch with her oldest son, Zachary, the family would be ruined. Zachary was the backbone of the York family. He held an important position in the Two Lakes area. It would not be remiss to say he exerted a lot of power and influence. With just a single order, he could get rid of Caspian. Thus, Nadia called Zachary and told him everything that had occurred, including the spectacle Caspian had caused when he confronted the York family. She also mentioned the injury he inflicted on Derek and his desire to destroy the family. That being said, she hid the fact that Derek had gotten the flying dragons to kill Caspian's foster mother. After hearing everything, Zachary seethed with rage. The audacity. Does this Caspian Lynch fellow think he's above the law? How dare he have ideas about going against our family? Does he think we're pushovers? As the man in charge of the Two Lakes area, Zachary was busy most of the time. During Nadia's 80th birthday celebration, he happened to have something he needed to do. So he could not head home to attend the celebration. He did not know what had happened. Exactly. He's too arrogant. He's a murderous psychopath. All of South Lake City is living in fear because of him, Nadia declared. What's his background? Zachary asked. He's just the Stewart family's good-for-nothing son-in-law. He was a soldier for a couple of years. So he's a good fighter, Nadia replied. Since he has killed so many people, what's the Inspector General's office doing? Are they dealing with the situation? Didn't they arrest him? Zachary asked in fury. We told Inspector Ezekiel about the situation, but nothing's been done so far. He hasn't tried to arrest Caspian either. I don't know why he hasn't taken any action yet. Frowning, Nadia continued to instruct. Zachary, you must find a way to get rid of Caspian. It isn't long before the deadline he gave the family. Once time is up, he'll start making his move against our family. We'll be in serious trouble then. Chapter 102, A Secret Plan. Rest assured, Mom, I can squash Caspian like a fly. No matter who he is or where he comes from, anyone who tries to mess with the York family will die, Zachary declared menacingly. All right, since you'll be handling this, we have nothing to worry about. Nadia finally felt at ease again. I'm going to end the call and get in touch with Ezekiel right away. I'll tell him to find a way to snuff out Caspian. Okay, we're counting on you, Nadia replied. Take care of yourself, Mom. You'll be receiving good news soon enough. In 2 days, Caspian Lynch will be dead, Zachary asserted. Once the call was over, Nadia relayed Zachary's words to the rest of the family. The Yorks finally exhaled in relief. With Uncle Zachary taking care of things, Caspian's dead meat. Derek said, over at the Inspector General's office, Ezekiel's phone started ringing. When he checked his phone, he saw that it was a call from Garrett, the supreme leader of the Flying Dragons. No one else was in Ezekiel's office, so he answered the call and asked, Do you need something, Mr. Johnson? Inspector Ezekiel, don't you think you've been too underhanded? You had one of your subordinates hinder our trade with the Shadow Tigers, and you even killed my people. Garrett fumed. I wasn't aware of the situation, Mr. Johnson, Ezekiel helplessly explained. It was one of the chiefs under me, Joey Sanders, who acted of her own accord. Once I found out, I purposely delayed responding to buy your people enough time to get rid of Joey. I didn't expect your people to be so useless that Caspian and Joey managed to kill them all. I see. Here I was, thinking you'd decided to end our deal, Inspector Ezekiel, Garrett remarked. Rest assured, we're in a mutually beneficial relationship. We both stand to gain from our exchange. Why would I give up on our deal when it's a win-win situation? Ezekiel said with a chuckle. That woman, Joey, keeps causing trouble for us. The Flying Dragons. She even killed a lot of my men tonight. You know what to do, right, Inspector Ezekiel? Garrett asked. Joey keeps getting in the way. I've had my eye on her for a long time now. investigate me. I won't let her remain in the Inspector General's office much longer. I'll find a way to get rid of her. You don't have to worry about that, Ezekiel solemnly promised. All right. If you can't bear to do it yourself, let us handle it. The Flying Tigers will deal with her, Garrett offered. That's doable. We can set something up and lure her into your territory, Ezekiel suggested. By the way, don't forget about that Caspian guy. He has caused a ton of trouble for the Flying Dragons. He must be taken out as well, Garrett added. Caspian has been giving me a headache too, but I'm already working on dealing with him, Ezekiel said. He was still investigating Caspian's background, so he dared not make a move just yet. All right. I look forward to hearing good news from you, Garrett replied. Though he was the supreme leader of the Flying Dragons, he dared not show any disrespect to Ezekiel. After all, the latter was the head of the Inspector General's office. If he wanted to have an easy time in South Lake City, he needed to maintain a good relationship with Ezekiel. If there's nothing else, Mr. Johnson, let's end the call now, Ezekiel said. Considering the position he held, he dared not have too much contact with the Flying Dragons. If anyone found something on him, he would be in hot water. As soon as Ezekiel got off the call with Garrett, another one came in. To his shock, it was a call from Zachary. Despite being flustered, Ezekiel was too afraid to waste any time. He immediately took the call. It's good to hear from you, Mr. York. What gives me the honor of receiving your call at this hour? Zachary instantly launched into a tirade. Inspector Ezekiel, Caspian Lynch has killed a fair number of people in South Lake City in recent days. He even announced his intention to kill off the entire York family. As the head of the Inspector General's office, why haven't you arrested him yet? You're being extremely irresponsible. Have you decided to relinquish your position? Trembling in fear, Ezekiel hastily explained, You've misunderstood me, Mr. York. It's not that I'm afraid of apprehending Caspian. I'm just worried about his background. Previously, General Anderson, the high-ranking general from South Arid Lands, attended Caspian's wedding. That's why I'm hesitant to take action. So what if he's acquainted with John Anderson? Zachary retorted. Murder is a crime. Since he has broken the law and killed so many people, he needs to pay for his crimes. Understood, Mr. York. Ezekiel swiftly replied. By the way something I'm confused about. Why is Caspian trying to come after the York family? Zachary asked. It's because of your nephew, Derek. Last month, he and a group of people from the Flying Dragons killed Caspian's foster mother. That's why Caspian is taking revenge. He wants to wipe out the York family to avenge her, Ezekiel said. I see. How many people know about this? Zachary checked. Not many. I made sure to bury the case. There's no longer any evidence. Ezekiel lowered his voice and replied. I got it. You did well, but Caspian's a ticking time bomb. Get rid of him at once so that he can't cause any more trouble, Zachary reminded. Understood. I'll send a team of people to arrest him. But what should I do if John Anderson gets involved? Ezekiel voiced his greatest concern. Just see to it that John never gets to see Caspian. Get him killed in secret when you're transporting him back to the Inspector General's office. Even if John comes forward, all he'll have is a dead body. He won't be able to do anything, Zachary instructed. He added, when the time comes, just find a random excuse to charge Caspian with a crime. I doubt John will stand against us over something like this. You're right, Mr. York. I'll get on it right away and send some people to kill Caspian, Ezekiel declared. With Zachary to back him up, Ezekiel felt a lot less worried. He had already come up with thousands of ways to take out Caspian. Do you have a plan? Zachary asked. I do, but I'm not sure if it's appropriate, Ezekiel replied. No harm in letting me hear it, Zachary said. Ezekiel shared his plan. Caspian seems to be injured. I plan on striking tomorrow night. First, we'll take him to the Cliff of Death. Then, we'll join forces with the Flying Dragons to kill him and throw his body over the cliff. No one will find out what we did. Excellent. Zachary gave his approval. Since you think it'll work, Mr. York, I'll have my men carry it out. As Zachary did not object to the plan, Ezekiel felt a lot more confident about it. That's settled, then. If anything happens, I'll protect you, Zachary said. Got it. Since you've given the go-ahead, Mr. York, Caspian won't live past tomorrow night, Ezekiel promised. Remember that this needs to be a covert operation. When the time comes, just come up with some excuse. You can say that Caspian resisted arrest. That way, even if John comes forward, we have nothing to fear, Zachary said. Got it, Mr. York? Chapter 103, Checking His Body. The call between Zachary and Ezekiel was still ongoing. You must get everything done as soon as possible, Zachary stated. Tomorrow night, I'll get the Yorks to head over and witness Caspian's death. I'll let them see just how mighty the backbone of the family is. Understood, Mr. York. I'll make sure Caspian suffers a great deal of torment before he dies. Tomorrow, Ezekiel promised. Once the call ended, Ezekiel called up Garrett again. Upon hearing what the plan was, Garrett was thrilled. He wanted to get rid of Caspian as quickly as possible too. The two men came to an agreement right away, and Garrett promised the Flying Dragons would give their full support. Meanwhile, Zachary informed the Yorks of the plan and instructed them to head over to the Cliff of Death tomorrow. They were going to witness Caspian's excruciating death. Nadia was ecstatic. The plan sounded flawless to her, and she was certain the family would be keen to watch it happen in person. She informed the rest of the family of the plan. All of them leaped for joy. Your time is up, Caspian. Nadia snarled wickedly. Over at South Lake Hospital, Caspian was currently lying on a hospital bed. A simple surgery had been performed to take the bullet out of him. Just then, a doctor came in to check on him. Upon closer inspection, Caspian realized it was Carmen, the doctor who had been rescued previously. Carmen was also stunned to find that the patient was Caspian. Caspian, what are you doing here? Carmen asked. What's the matter? Can't stand the sight of me? Caspian asked teasingly. Of course not. I was just startled to run into you here, Carmen said somewhat bashfully. Caspian had saved her life. She was more than happy to meet her savior again. She heard about some of the things he had done, including killing a lot of the criminals from the Flying Dragons. He became even more of a hero in her eyes. Ha ha ha. You're just as shy as ever. Look how red your cheeks are. Since Carmen was feeling embarrassed, Caspian did not continue to joke around with her. I heard that you and Chief Sanders wiped out hundreds of criminals together. That's incredible. Can you tell me what happened? Carmen asked excitedly. It's a long story. Chief Sanders is the incredible one. I was just tagging along with her, Caspian said with a chuckle. He did not want Carmen to be in awe of him, lest she end up developing an unhealthy attachment to him. That would be a troublesome situation. But everyone in the hospital is saying that you only got injured because you saved Chief Sanders. A lot of people admire you. Quite a number want to marry you. But unfortunately, you're already married, Carmen informed. Caspian was speechless. He did not expect the news to spread so quickly. I'll take a look at your wound and change your bandage for you, Carmen said. She was now in charge of Caspian's treatment, so she was also involved in providing medical care that was ordinarily done by a nurse. Okay, Caspian said with a nod. Where's your injury? Carmen asked. Caspian was dressed in a striped two-piece set that patients wore in the hospital, but he did not look injured in any way. On my knee, Caspian replied. Please roll your pant leg up then. Carmen said somewhat embarrassedly. Caspian nodded and did as told, but the pants were too tight. He could not roll his pant leg up to his thigh. Maybe you should just take your pants off, Caspian, Carmen suggested, her face bright red. Well, Caspian was conflicted. I'm a doctor. I've seen all kinds of things when dealing with patients. You don't have to worry about anything, Carmen added. All right then. Caspian nodded and took his pants off. When Carmen saw his muscular body, her heart started pounding erratically. You can check my wound now, Caspian reminded. He also felt awkward that a young woman was staring at him. Carmen became even more embarrassed. After snapping out of her reverie, she came forward to inspect Caspian's wound. She never thought she would be in such proximity with Caspian. He was her hero. You've got such a strong and muscular figure, Carmen exclaimed as she looked at the bulging muscles along his thigh. Caspian chuckled awkwardly. He wanted to get this over with at once. If Willow saw this, she might misunderstand the situation. Just then, two women walked into the ward. Caspian looked up. It was Willow and Zoe. Murphy's Law had struck again. Caspian, what are you two doing? Willow exclaimed. When she came into the ward, she saw that Caspian had his pants off. Please don't get the wrong idea, Willow. I'm just checking Caspian's body, Carmen nervously explained when she saw Willow. Caspian did not know what to say. Why did Carmen's explanation sound like an admission of guilt? She's checking my wound, Caspian clarified. Yes, that's right. Caspian got shot, so I have to check on the condition of his wound to see how it's recovering. Carmen quickly added, Yes, I got it. You don't have to be so nervous, Willow said. She had complete faith in Caspian. Furthermore, this was a public place. Caspian and Carmen could not be engaging in any kind of funny business. You guys talk. I'll head out now. Call me if you need anything. Red-faced, Carmen fled from the hospital ward. Once she was gone, Caspian saw Willow and Zoe staring at him. How did you know I'm in the hospital? Caspian asked as he picked up his pants. He did not tell Willow that he had gotten injured. Chief Sanders told us about it, Willow replied. If not for Joey, Willow would have thought that Caspian was on the way home. When Joey got back to the Inspector General's office, she began looking into dark blades. True enough, the 8 people Caspian had killed were indeed from dark blades. Thus, Caspian was cleared of all suspicion. They were a bunch of hitmen, and he merely killed them out of self-defense, so he did not need to be charged with a crime. Joey then called Willow to tell her that Caspian had been injured. What on earth happened? Why did you get shot? Willow asked. Joey had only said that Caspian was injured without going into any further detail. Caspian gave Willow a summarized version of what happened at the Rocky Den. However, he did not say he had gotten shot while protecting Joey. There was no telling how Willow would interpret that piece of information. He did not want her to get jealous over it. At last, Willow and Zoe finally realized just how dangerous the situation had been for Caspian and Joey. How's your injury? Is it serious? Willow asked in concern. I'm fine. It's just a scratch, Caspian assured her. All he needed was a few days to recover, and he would be right as rain again. Caspian exchanged a quick conversation with Willow and Zoe before telling them to head back. Chapter 104. The Inspector General's office takes action. Caspian spent the night in the hospital alone. In the morning, Sylvia called him. The deadline for the York family is today. Caspian, when are we striking? Without having anything to do, Sylvia was feeling bored out of her mind. If they don't do anything by today, tell Julian to come into the city at midnight tonight, Caspian instructed. Understood. Sylvia had been waiting for this moment for long enough. Caspian added, remember to leave all the key members of the York family alive, including Derek. Keep the supreme leader of the Flying Dragons and the other key figures alive as well. Tomorrow morning, I'll have them kneel in front of my foster mother's grave to beg for her forgiveness. Got it, Sylvia replied. Today's the last day. They won't just stand by and do nothing. You need to be on your toes. The Inspector General's office will certainly jump into action. Once they take me away, you can give the order, Caspian said. All right. Sylvia responded in excitement. It was as if storm clouds were gathering over South Lake City. A major fight was about to take place. Once the call ended, Carmen came back to check on Caspian's wound again. Caspian, your wife didn't misunderstand anything, right? Carmen asked as soon as she came in. No, she's not that petty, Caspian answered. I'm glad, Carmen said blushingly. Just like yesterday, Carmen checked Caspian's wound and changed the bandage. Still, when she took in his muscular body, she turned red again. Her heart rate sped up as well. Out of the blue, Caspian asked, can you help me with something? Carmen, sure, Caspian, just tell me what you need, Carmen said firmly. She was willing to do whatever he asked of her, even if it was something outrageous. If people from the Inspector General's office come and take me away, make a call to a friend of mine, Caspian said. Huh. Why would the inspectors want to take you away? Aren't you a hero? Carmen asked puzzledly. It's a long story. Can you do it for me? Caspian asked. Of course, Carmen replied. It was a small matter, so she was definitely going to help him. All right. Take down this number. Caspian gave the number to Carmen. In the blink of an eye, night had fallen. At 10:00 p.m., Garrett led all the members of the Flying Dragons to the Cliff of Death on the outskirts of South Lake City. Nadia also brought the entire York family to the Cliff of Death to witness Caspian's death. Ezekiel personally led a team of his most trusted men to South Lake Hospital. Over at South Lake Hospital, Willow had arrived. When she walked into the ward, she asked, "Caspian, guess who came to see you?" "I don't know. Who would visit a matrilocal son-in-law like me?" Caspian said self-deprecatingly. "Take a guess. You might get it right," Willow said excitedly. "Who else could it be if not Zoe?" Caspian replied. He could not think of anyone else who would visit him. "You're only half right. There's one more person. I'm sure you won't figure out who it is," Willow said. "Who is it?" Caspian asked. As long as the person was not Sylvia, he did not mind anyone else visiting him. He did not want Sylvia to see him in this state. "Zoe, bring Miss Barton in," Willow called out. Zoe and Miranda walked into the ward. "Caspian, even the vice president of South Lake Corporation has come to see you. Isn't it a great surprise?" Willow said with a smile. "A great surprise, indeed," Caspian calmly said. It was Miranda who had come with them. "Hi, Mr. Lynch. How are you feeling?" Miranda asked in concern. When she heard Caspian was injured, she rushed over to see him. After all, he was her superior. However, Willow did not know about the true ownership of the company, so she thought about giving Caspian a surprise. "Thank you for coming to see me, Ms. Barton. I'm making a speedy recovery," Caspian said as he pretended to be flattered. "Not at all. Your wife and I are colleagues. Since you're injured, it's only right for me to visit you in the hospital," Miranda said. "Caspian, you said you wanted to organize a memorial service for Mom. But since you're injured, why don't we postpone it a few days?" Willow suggested. "No need. The memorial service will proceed as scheduled tomorrow," Caspian declared. Concerned, Willow said, "But it's fine. It's just a light injury," Caspian assured her. He did not want to delay the memorial service because of his condition. After all, he could not wait to massacre the bastards who killed his foster mother. Just then, the sound of hurried footsteps rang out outside the ward. All of a sudden, a group of inspectors dressed in uniform charged into Caspian's ward. Willow and Zoe froze in shock. Upon seeing the people from the Inspector General's office, Caspian knew the moment had come. Freeze. Nobody move. The inspectors swarmed into the ward. All of them pointed their guns at Caspian. Under these circumstances, Caspian did nothing. Since Caspian did not move, the inspector immediately put him in handcuffs. "What are you doing?" Willow asked in a panic. "Caspian Lynch has broken the law. He has killed countless people without remorse. We're arresting him for his crimes," Ezekiel said as he entered the ward. The moment Willow saw that the head of the Inspector General's office had come, she got a feeling that Caspian was in danger. All this while, she had been worried that Caspian would get arrested for murder. True enough, it was happening now. "He's still injured. You can't take him away," Willow came forward and insisted. "That has nothing to do with us," Ezekiel retorted icily. "Don't worry, Willow. I'll be fine," Caspian assured her. "Take them away as well. They were harboring a fugitive," Ezekiel instructed as he eyed Willow and the other women. Understood. The inspectors handcuffed Willow, Miranda, and Zoe as well. The women were dumbfounded. They never thought they would be arrested as well. Meanwhile, Caspian was vexed. What was Ezekiel doing? Nevertheless, upon recalling that there was a military unit awaiting orders outside the city, Caspian relaxed. Ezekiel's good days were soon coming to an end. "Take them away," Ezekiel ordered, and the men from the Inspector General's office hauled them out. As Ezekiel was leading the charge, many people noticed what was happening. A large crowd of curious onlookers had gathered in the hospital lobby. They gasped at the sight and spoke among themselves. "Look, isn't that Caspian Lynch?" "That's right. Didn't he help the Inspector General's office take out a lot of criminals? Why is he getting arrested now? He even saved one of our female doctors a while back. He's a hero," Why are they arresting him? It must be because he has killed too many people. Even though they were all bad guys, he didn't have the right to take matters into his own hands by killing them. Inspector Ezekiel is personally handling the arrest. This must be a serious matter. Chapter 105. The military unit is mobilized. Willow, Miranda, and Zoe did not expect to get arrested. The news of them being taken away by the inspectors from the Inspector General's office soon spread across South Lake City. Miranda thought no one would dare to go against Caspian. After all, he had proven himself to be quite powerful. Alas, today's incident proved her assumption wrong. The head of the Inspector General's office in South Lake City had personally participated in Caspian's arrest. It was going to be hard for Caspian to free himself this time. Unfortunately for her, she had only been at the hospital for a few minutes, but she was also swept up in the storm along with the others. Meanwhile, Caspian looked unperturbed. He knew full well the Inspector General's office could not do anything to him. Just then, Carmen rushed over after hearing the news. When she saw her hero, Caspian, being led off in handcuffs, she was thunderstruck and could not believe her eyes. Earlier, Caspian had told her that if the Inspector General's office took him into custody, he wanted her to call Sylvia. What did Caspian do? How did he know he was going to be arrested? What are you doing? Why are you arresting Caspian? Carmen asked in confusion. She did not understand why a righteous hero like Caspian would get apprehended. Get the hell out of the way. This has nothing to do with you. Are you trying to get arrested as well? Ezekiel fumed in annoyance when he saw a doctor coming forward to stop them. Carmen saw the armed inspectors. She dared not get in their way, so she quickly stepped aside. She had never seen such a scene before. Caspian met Carmen's gaze, and she instantly got the hint. But as the inspectors were still around, she dared not call Sylvia right away. She would wait until they left. Soon, Caspian and the women were taken away. Carmen watched as they were hauled into the inspectors' vehicles. A few minutes after their arrest, Joey arrived at the hospital. She came to check on Caspian. As he did save her, it was only right for her to visit him. However, when she entered the hospital, she heard everyone discussing Caspian and the women's arrest. They had been taken away by Ezekiel, the head of the Inspector General's office. Joey's expression darkened. She had no idea there was an ongoing operation. Furthermore, why were Willow, Miranda, and Zoe taken away too? When Joey saw Carmen, who was making a call, she immediately asked, "What's going on? Carmen, what happened just now?" After turning around, Carmen saw Joey and swiftly said, "Inspector Ezekiel apprehended Caspian and Willow, as well as Miranda Barton, the vice president of South Lake Corporation." What? He took Willow and Miranda as well. Joey was confused. She could not figure out what Ezekiel was up to. It was understandable if they had taken Caspian away. After all, he did kill a lot of people recently, so it made sense if they wanted to investigate him. Yet, Willow and the other women were innocent people. Why were they taken into custody as well? "I don't know why either," Carmen said. Joey knew she could not get any useful information from Carmen. Still, she had a feeling things would be quite challenging to deal with. She rushed back to the Inspector General's office to find out what was happening. Once Joey left, Carmen remembered what Caspian had told her. She found a quiet spot and called Sylvia. "Hello." Sylvia answered absent-mindedly after seeing it was a call from an unfamiliar number. "Hi, my name is Carmen Beth. Is this Sylvia Frost speaking?" Carmen kept her voice low and asked, "That's me. What's this about?" Sylvia asked. "Caspian told me to call you," Carmen said. Upon hearing that, Sylvia instantly grew alert. She asked solemnly, "Why did he ask me to call you? Did something happen?" "The men from the Inspector General's office have taken Caspian away," Carmen reported. "What? Are you sure?" Sylvia asked in disbelief. She had been waiting for this moment for quite some time now. "I am. I saw it with my own eyes. Inspector Ezekiel personally took Caspian away. He also took Willow, Zoe, and Miranda, the vice president of South Lake Corporation," Carmen informed Sylvia. "Got it. Don't worry. I'll save them," Sylvia said. She terminated the call without waiting for Carmen's response. Then, she called Julian. the chief of staff of the army at South Aridlands, and instructed him to lead the military unit into South Lake City. Over at the base camp outside South Lake City, Julian received the news that Caspian had been arrested by the Inspector General's office. He immediately gathered the soldiers. Men, I have received the latest update from General Frost. Lord Caspian, the Diaturanian god of war that we honor and respect, has been arrested by the Inspector General's office. What do you think we should do? Julian asked on purpose. He did so to ignite the soldiers' fighting spirit. Charge into South Lake City and rescue Lord Caspian. Charge into South Lake City and rescue Lord Caspian. Charge into South Lake City and rescue Lord Caspian. The military unit that numbered into the thousands chanted in a show of strength. Excellent. Follow me, comrades. We're marching into South Lake City and rescuing Lord Caspian. Julian waved his hand and gave the order. In an instant, a sea of tanks and soldiers rushed toward South Lake City. When the grand procession of armored vehicles appeared on the streets of South Lake City, the other cars on the road wisely gave way. Even though they did not know what such an imposing military unit was doing in South Lake City, they knew the city was in for a tumultuous night. Ezekiel was personally directing the operation to arrest and kill Caspian. Only his closest general's office did not hear a word about it. It had not been a part of the plan to capture Willow, Miranda, and Zoe. They just so happened to be there at the hospital. But since they were close to Caspian, for the sake of maintaining secrecy of the operation, Ezekiel had to take them along as well. Right now, Caspian and the women were riding in the car, but they were not being taken to the Inspector General's office. Instead, the car was headed toward the outskirts of South Lake City, to the Canyon of Death. Caspian looked out the window. When he saw that they were getting farther away from the city center, he got a bad feeling. The car was filled with inspectors. He could not inform Sylvia of his location. Willow and the other women picked up on the strangeness of the situation as well. They did not know where the inspectors were taking them. They panicked even further when they saw the vehicle heading down a new path. 40 minutes later, they arrived at the Cliff of Death. They were about 20 miles away from South Lake City. It was a remote area. Few people ventured to this area. For one, the roads in this area were rugged and hard to pass. Furthermore, it was far from the rest of civilization. Few dared to come over. That was precisely why Ezekiel brought Caspian and the women to this place. Once the car stopped, Caspian, Willow, Miranda, and Zoe were all shoved out. Upon seeing that Caspian was in handcuffs, a riotous cheer rang out across the Cliff of Death. The Cliff of Death was brightly lit with numerous bonfires all around. Many people were gathered around the bonfires. It looked like the scene of a lively event. Chapter 106, He Who Has Overestimated Himself. The crowd came armed with weapons. They seemed to have prepared for this. Some even brought guns with them. Evidently, these were men from the Flying Dragons. Garrett had brought his people to meet up with the others at the Cliff of Death. This time, every single member of the Flying Dragons came. There were between 3,000 to 4,000 of them. Nadia also brought over 100 people over to witness Caspian's tragic death. Caspian had humiliated the York family, and when the Yorks heard that Caspian was going to get killed today, they wanted to see it in person. The remote and isolated Cliff of Death was filled with people tonight. Such a scene was rarely seen, if at all. For the sake of maintaining the secrecy of this operation and preventing any leaks, Ezekiel issued a command to forbid anyone from bringing electronic devices with them to the Cliff of Death. It was to prevent anyone from uploading photos or videos. If those who wanted to brag ended up exposing what was happening, they would be in serious trouble. After all, this was an illegal operation. Ezekiel was being extremely careful because he did not plan on killing off Caspian so easily. He was going to torment Caspian first and make sure he died an excruciating death. When Caspian got out of the car and saw the crowd, he knew things would not bode well. He did not expect the Inspector General's office to carry out such an operation. For the first time ever, Caspian, who had always been composed and cool-headed, had the feeling the situation was beyond his control. While he was unafraid of danger, he was worried for Willow, Miranda, and Zoe. They were innocent people. It would be a waste if they died here for nothing. Meanwhile, The women were scared witless by the crowd around them. Amid the cheers and hollers, the women were tied to a wooden stake. The three beautiful women were flustered and panicking hard. They did not know what the meanwhile, Caspian was tied to a large tree. Caspian, didn't you boast that you'd massacre the York family to avenge your foster mother? You can't even save yourself now. Let me see how you're going to get your revenge. Nadia mocked. She was the first to speak up. Ha ha ha. Look at him. He wants revenge, huh? In his dreams, Garrett guffawed. Aren't you supposed to be so powerful, Caspian? I did kill your foster mother, but what can you do about it? All you can do now is wait and see when we kill you. Derek came forward as he taunted. Caspian Lynch, you murderous psychopath. My comrades died at your hands, and you're paying for their deaths tonight. Quentin roared viciously. Caspian took in the smug expressions of his enemies without saying anything. They would only get to feel good about themselves and run their mouths for a little longer. Once the military unit arrived, all of them would be taken down. Before his reinforcements came, Caspian dared not do anything rash. While he could save himself, Willow, Zoe, and Miranda would be in danger. Caspian looked around the place. Garrett, the supreme leader of the Flying Dragons, was here with two of his leaders and two protectors. Nadia, Samuel, and Derek were present as well. As long as his army came in time, he could wipe out all of his enemies in one fell swoop. When Joey got back to the Inspector General's office, she did not find a captured Caspian. Even her other colleagues did not know an operation had been carried out tonight. Joey was confused. Caspian and the others should have been brought back by now. She waited another 10 minutes, but there was still no sight of Caspian. Only then did she realize that something was fishy. Ezekiel seemed to have only brought his closest confidants on this operation tonight. The others had not heard a word about it. Most importantly, Caspian and the others had not been brought back to the Inspector General's office. After taking into account everything unusual about the operation, Joey got a niggling feeling that Ezekiel was doing something in secret. All this while, she suspected that Ezekiel had dealings with the Flying Dragons, but she did not have any concrete evidence. All the evidence related to Lilith's death was destroyed overnight. Joey suspected it had something to do with Ezekiel. Only the people in the Inspector General's office could tamper with the evidence. Ezekiel had the most authority, so it was well within his means to do just that. Upon thinking about this, Joey immediately went to the security room to check the security footage. She studied all the security footage of the area surrounding South Lake Hospital. After comparing the footage that was taken during Caspian's arrest, she found something suspicious. Based on the footage, the fleet of cars from the Inspector General's office did not head back to the office. Instead, they headed to the west, away from the city. Joey was thunderstruck. Why did Ezekiel take Caspian out of the city? What was he up to? Alas, the footage ended at the edge of South Lake City. Following that, Joey checked the earlier footage of that road. To her shock, she found that hundreds of cars had passed through the area. They were all headed in the same direction, and they all had the same characteristic, a dragon head. That was the symbol of the Flying Dragons. Upon seeing this, Joey was stunned to the core. It looked like the entire Flying Dragons had been dispatched. With that, Joey was certain that Ezekiel had dealings with the Flying Dragons, and they were preparing to get rid of Caspian tonight. There was no other way to explain such a coincidence. Just then, Joey recalled a well-hidden area on the western outskirts of South Lake City, the Cliff of Death. To head to the Cliff of Death, one had to use the road in the footage Joey had checked. After considering these things, Joey figured out what was happening. She shared her thoughts with her colleagues. After hearing what Joey said, everyone was dumbstruck. They thought she was being too audacious. She even dared to interfere with Ezekiel's matters. Inspector Ezekiel is very likely to have secretly teamed up with the Flying Dragons to kill Caspian. Quick, everyone, come with me to save him, Joey cried out anxiously. Chief Sanders, aren't you sticking your nose into situations where it doesn't belong? It's best if you stay out of Inspector Ezekiel's matters. If you want to die, go ahead. Don't drag us down with you, someone mocked. That's right. You have the nerve to investigate Inspector Ezekiel. Do you even want to keep your job? another remarked. Even more colleagues chimed in. If everyone from the Flying Dragons is involved, then we'll be screwed even if we go over. Even though we want to rescue them, it's clearly not within our means. Even if we head over there, we won't be able to save anyone. Is it worth it to do all that just for a good for nothing? Think carefully, Chief Sanders. They were only ordinary employees in the Inspector General's office, and Joey was not their direct superior. So they did not need to listen to her. Moreover, the entire Flying Dragons had gotten involved, so they would only be walking to their doom. Joey was helpless. She was only a chief, and they were not her subordinates. Still, since she knew what was going on, she could not allow herself to stand by and do nothing. So what if she had to go up against the head of the Inspector General's office? In her eyes, all criminals were equal, including Ezekiel. Joey went off to prepare her gun and ammunition. She was going to act alone. After gathering her equipment, she got into a car and drove to the Cliff of Death. Minutes after she left, there was a loud commotion outside the Inspector General's office. All of a sudden, the ground seemed to shake. The rumbling sounds grew nearer, and everyone inside the Inspector General's office jumped in fright. Chapter 107, A Cruel Idea. The staff on night duty at the Inspector General's office started exclaiming in panic. What's going on? Is it an earthquake? I don't know. Is there some kind of construction work happening nearby? Impossible. This doesn't sound like construction work. Let's go and see what's happening. They quickly ran out of the building. When they arrived at the entrance, they were gobsmacked. Countless tanks and military vehicles had filled every inch of the space in front of the Inspector General's office. Even more armored vehicles were approaching as well. The staff froze in shock. Despite working in the Inspector General's office, they had never seen such a grand procession. What on earth is going on? An inspector asked curiously. Did the army come to demolish the Inspector General's office? Another inspector asked in a trembling voice. Why did a military unit show up here? Just then, two imposing generals approached the building with special forces soldiers flanking them from behind. They were Julian, the chief of staff of the army at South Aridlands, and Sylvia, who was a general officer. However, lately, everyone in South Lake City knew that Sylvia's identity was fake. Sylvia had informed Julian about Caspian's situation. Once the two met up, they rushed over to the Inspector General's office with Julian's troops. The inspectors recognized Sylvia, but they did not know who Julian was. The procession was far too terrifying, and the inspectors were shocked beyond words. Where's Ezekiel Parker? Tell him to get his ass out here, Sylvia yelled at the inspectors who stood frozen at the entrance. Inspector Ezekiel isn't here, an inspector reported shakily. What? He's not here, Sylvia repeated. She had just received the word that Ezekiel had taken Caspian away, so how could he not be at the Inspector General's office? That's right. He's not here, the inspector replied. Hand over Caspian Lynch, then, Sylvia said. Caspian Lynch. How are you related to him? The inspectors asked with widened eyes. Had the Grand Army procession come for that good-for-nothing Caspian? That's none of your business, Sylvia barked. Well, he's not here either. One of the inspectors said, Where is he? We don't know. The inspectors were terror-stricken and had forgotten what Joey told them. Search the building, Julian ordered. He could not be bothered to waste his breath on the useless inspectors anymore. The soldiers marched into the Inspector General's office. 10 minutes later, they came back empty-handed. There was no sign of Caspian. Julian and Sylvia exchanged looks. They had a bad feeling about this. Find Lord Caspian at all costs. Use every means available, Julian commanded. He was afraid that something might happen to Caspian. Yes, sir. The soldiers quickly jumped into action. They had vehicles equipped with radars and connections to satellites at their disposal, so they could track Caspian's phone to get his exact coordinates. Back at the Cliff of Death, Nadia was disgruntled by Caspian's unruffled demeanor. Do you have any last words, Caspian? She asked. I'm curious to know who's the big shot who managed to convince the head of the Inspector General's office to do your dirty work for you, Caspian remarked. He was looking for ways to keep them occupied, until Sylvia and the rest of the reinforcements arrived to save him. He also wanted to know who was the mastermind behind everything. That's an excellent question. Since you're about to die, there's no harm in telling you the truth, Nadia answered smugly. Go on, then. Who is it? Caspian asked. My oldest son, Zachary, Nadia declared with a look of pride. Since Caspian was doomed to die, she was not afraid of him finding out who the York family's pillar of support was. I see. Caspian had guessed as much, so Nadia's answer did not shock him. For the sake of wiping out the evil forces in South Lake City, Caspian took his time to plan each step. Alas, that led to him ending up in a dangerous situation instead. At the time, Sylvia had tried her best to stop him as she feared something could happen. From the looks of it now, her suggestion had been a wise one. Do you regret it now, Caspian? You now know just how powerful the York family is. With a wave of his hand, my Uncle Zachary can see to it that you're gone for good. Derek came forward and snarled savagely. Do you know why you ended up like this, Caspian? It's because you're too arrogant and domineering, Ezekiel called out. Ezekiel, even though you're the head of the Inspector General's office, you've been colluding with the Flying Dragons, a criminal organization. Aren't you afraid that your illegal dealings will be exposed? Caspian retorted coldly. Ha ha ha. Looks like you still haven't figured out what's the situation now. With the regional chief of the Two Lakes area backing me up, what's there for me to fear? Here in South Lake City, the three of us have everything under our control. We can do whatever we want, Ezekiel declared. The regional chief of the Two Lakes area, huh? He'll pay a heavy price for this, Caspian roared. He had decided to execute Zachary, no matter what. What a joke. Either way, you're going to die, so I'll let you die in peace. I'm the one who had the inspectors bury your foster mother's case. I also destroyed all the evidence. Even if you know about it now, what can you do? Ezekiel gloated. I hope you never have to regret what you just said. Caspian shot back. Garrett sneered. Caspian, you've killed many of my men from the Flying Dragons on several occasions now. And you made us suffer a catastrophic loss. I'm going to rip you to shreds today. Willow, Miranda, and Zoe were terrified after hearing that the people around them wanted to kill Caspian. That explained why Ezekiel had brought them to a remote place. It was so he could kill Caspian off in secret. How should we make Caspian's death more painful for him? Inspector Ezekiel, Garrett asked spitefully. That's easy. Do you know what makes a person feel most helpless and tortured? It's witnessing their own loved ones being tormented to death without being able to do anything. Ezekiel said. What a great idea. How wise you are, Inspector Ezekiel, Garrett said as he chuckled. Let's start with Caspian's wife and the two other gorgeous ladies. We'll cut off their flesh bit by bit right in front of his eyes, Ezekiel said. Upon hearing that, Willow, Miranda, and Zoe were horror-stricken. These people were too cruel. Caspian was infuriated as well. He did not expect Ezekiel to be that brutal. He did not care how they treated him, but he could not let them attack his wife and other innocent people. All of a sudden, Nadia said, You made a very good suggestion, Inspector Ezekiel, but it's not enough. Ezekiel and Garrett were startled. Do you have a better idea, Mrs. York Sr.? Ezekiel asked. He thought his method was cruel enough as it was. Chapter 108, Sadistic Beyond Imagination. I do have an idea that'll make them suffer a pain worse than death, Nadia said with a malicious smirk. Go on, Ezekiel said. He wanted to know just how vicious Nadia's idea would be. All three of them are gorgeous women with beautiful faces. Wouldn't it be a shame to disfigure them? Nadia said airily, as she took her sweet time sharing her idea. Upon hearing her comment, Ezekiel and Garrett grew thoughtful. How do you think we should torture them, Mrs. York Sr.? Garrett asked. Think about it. If Caspian has to watch as a group of men rapes his wife, how would he feel? Nadia said with a chuckle. All along, she resented Caspian for what he did to the Yorks. Now that she had a chance to take revenge, she would not let it slip away from her. Garrett and Ezekiel immediately figured out what she meant. They had considered doing that as well. But as a crowd of people was watching them, they felt awkward about bringing it up. This alone proved just how sadistic Nadia was. Her words made the blood drain out of the three young women's faces. They never thought Nadia would give such an evil idea. It would be torture for any woman. They would rather die than get assaulted by these men. In their eyes, Nadia was the very embodiment of wickedness. Caspian seethed with rage as he glared at Nadia. He never thought she would suggest such a cruel act. It's true that with age comes wisdom. You have my respect, Ezekiel said with a laugh. Garrett nodded in agreement. The thousands of people gathered around the cliff of death began to cheer as well. They were looking forward to a good show. Willow, Miranda, and Zoe were scared witless. To them, the applauding crowd looked like a bunch of savage demons. What are you waiting for? Willow Stewart is known as the most beautiful woman in South Lake City. Inspector Ezekiel, Mr. Johnson, why don't you two have some fun? Nadia suggested. Since Inspector Ezekiel was the one who caught her, he should have the first go. I'll settle with the other two pretty ladies, Garrett said. He would love to have his way with the most beautiful woman in South Lake City. Of course. But if the Flying Dragons wanted to establish themselves in South Lake City, they needed to rely on Ezekiel's support. Thus, as the supreme leader of the Flying Dragons, Garrett had to show some deference to Ezekiel. In any case, Miranda, the vice president of South Lake Corporation, was also a captivating beauty. I'll just get right to it, then, Ezekiel chuckled. He was feeling rather eager himself. Willow was drowning in despair. She was disgusted by Ezekiel's pudgy and unattractive face. Miranda was even more terrified. She was still a virgin and would rather die than let a bastard like Garrett rape her. What about the other woman? Nadia asked. Mr. Lambert has contributed greatly to the Flying Dragons. He should be rewarded. Garrett said. All right. Mr. Lambert can have her, Nadia agreed. Thank you, Mrs. York Sr. Victor was smiling widely. He did not expect to get such a boon. Zoe's looks and figure were just as attractive as Willow's. Zoe was despondent. She never thought a regular person like her would end up in this situation. Meanwhile, Samuel was itching to have a taste of the women as well, but his wife was standing right beside him. He could only watch as other men had their fun. Furthermore, nearly the entire York family was here, so he had to maintain his image. As for Derek, who could no longer perform in that area, he could only rely on his imagination to satisfy his desires. Stop wasting time. Go on. Your comrades are waiting, Nadia reminded. All right. Patience, men. You'll all get your turn, Garrett said to his subordinates from the Flying Dragons. The men from the Flying Dragons were leaping for joy. The leaders and protectors were already prepared for their turns. You bastards. I dare you to kill me. Willow shrieked. She would choose death over suffering from such inhumane treatment. Kill you. Don't even think about it. It would be such a waste to kill a gorgeous chick like you, Garrett said. You bastards will get what's coming for you. Miranda fumed. Why aren't you getting started, Mr. Johnson? What are you waiting for? Derek called out. He was eager to enjoy the show. We'll get started right away, Mr. York, Garrett replied with a guffaw. Caspian was incensed. He was Lord Caspian, the Diaturanian god of war who had led his army to overwhelming victories across numerous battlefields. If he could not even protect his own wife, how was he going to face his soldiers? Ignoring his injury, he tried his best to struggle against his restraints, but to no avail. The handcuffs used on him this time seemed to have been specially made. They were a lot stronger than before. Caspian's wrists were bleeding. All he could do was hope Sylvia and the military unit could get over in time. But until then, he did not know what was going to happen. Ezekiel was already walking towards Sylvia with a leery smile. Outside the Inspector General's office, Sylvia and Julian were still waiting. Sir, we have found Lord Caspian's approximate location. A scout ran over to Julian and reported. Where is he? Julian asked impatiently. He's at the Cliff of Death, which is 20 miles west of South Lake City, the scout replied. Upon hearing that, the inspectors recalled what Joey had said earlier. One of them exclaimed, Yes, I remember it now. Inspector Ezekiel had taken Caspian to the Cliff of Death. I think the Flying Dragons and the York family have gone over there too. Julian and Sylvia were thunderstruck. Evidently, Ezekiel and the flying dragons wanted to kill Caspian at the cliff of death. What's the use in saying that now? Why didn't you say something sooner? You wasted so much of our time, Sylvia snarled. In situations like these, every second mattered. With each passing second, Caspian was in even more danger. If the inspectors had mentioned this sooner, the military unit might have already rescued Caspian by now. Listen up, everyone. Head for the cliff of death at once to save Lord Caspian, Julian commanded. Time was of the essence. They could not afford any more delays. Yes, sir. The soldiers responded in unison before jumping into their vehicles and racing off toward the cliff of death. Chapter 109 Fighting Solo. Though the military unit had left, the inspectors continued to tremble in shock. It took them some time to compose themselves and process what just happened. Who were those soldiers? Who knows? Why are they looking for Inspector Ezekiel and Caspian? Did Inspector Ezekiel get into trouble? It's possible. Maybe he offended a powerful figure. Let's give Inspector Ezekiel a call right away to warn him. All the inspectors were in an uproar. Many tried to call Ezekiel, but none of the calls got through. His phone was turned off. When they tried to call the other inspectors who had left on the operation today, the calls did not connect either. There was nothing else the inspectors could do to help Ezekiel and his men. Over at the cliff of death, Ezekiel, Garrett, and the others were unaware of their impending doom. They were all staring at the beautiful women with sleazy, perverted expressions. Get away. Don't come near us. Get away from us. Help. Caspian. Hurry up and find a way to save us. Terrified, Willow, Miranda, and Zoe screamed for help. Scream all you want. No one's going to save you. Look around. These are all our people. Even if anyone comes here, they're dead meat. Ezekiel and Garrett responded to the women's cries with menacing expressions. Get them naked. Mount them. The crowd numbered into the thousands, and they all made crude remarks, urging for the show to begin. Ezekiel, Garrett, and Victor continued to approach the women. The three women tried their best to struggle against their restraints, but their efforts were in vain. Caspian was brimming with rage. He could no longer rein in his fury. A thunderous roar rang out, echoing among the trees and shaking the ground. Everyone froze in shock. Some trembled in fear at the sound, and the timid ones even peed their pants. Although Caspian could not escape from his restraints, his roar rang out loud and clear. This was all he could do to scare the bastards. His roar did indeed frighten Ezekiel, Garrett, and the others. They stumbled to the ground. Nadia was so terrified that she turned ashen-faced and started to wheeze. The cheering crowd had also frozen in shock. All was silent. Ezekiel, Garrett, and Victor all looked at Caspian. His eyes were blazing as he gave off an air of murderous intent. No one dared to look into his eyes. Teach Caspian a lesson first. Silence him, Nadia hastily said after composing herself. Some had brought out their machetes, but Caspian's intimidating air made them too scared to strike. Don't you have guns? What's there for you to be afraid of? Nadia frantically cried out. Only then did the crowd remember their weapons. They got out their guns and aimed them at Caspian. Caspian never thought he would one day see so many guns pointed at him. He was Lord Caspian, the Dieteranian god of war. Was this truly going to be how he met his end? At the most critical moment, a vehicle from the Inspector General's office came charging toward the cliff of death. Joey was in the driver's seat. The men who were about to shoot Caspian immediately jumped in fright. Joey shot straight over to the cliff of death and instantly saw Caspian shackled to a tree with heavy chains. What are you doing? Joey questioned loudly after getting out of the car. Ezekiel did not expect Joey to find them here, but since she was alone, he was unafraid of her. He was going to get rid of her anyway, so this was the perfect chance. Caspian was puzzled. Why would Joey charge up to the cliff of death by herself? I'm surprised you managed to track us down, Joey. Looks like you have indeed been investigating me. Ezekiel stood up and said, Inspector Ezekiel, what are you and the flying dragons up to? Joey asked. Can't you tell? We brought Caspian here to kill him. Ezekiel replied. Since Joey was going to die too, he did not mind telling her his intention. You're the head of the Inspector General's office in South Lake City. Aren't you ashamed of yourself for doing such a thing? Joey questioned in fury. Ashamed? Why should I be ashamed when I'm making a fortune? Have you been secretly investigating me? Well, I'll save you the trouble today. I've been cooperating with the Flying Dragons for a long time now. I've gained quite a lot from them, Ezekiel boasted. I advise you to stop while you still can. Inspector Ezekiel, Joey urged. Chief Sanders, you have repeatedly gotten in our chimed in. We've lost tens of millions because of you. Since you've delivered yourself to us today, don't blame us for not showing you any mercy. The Flying Dragons are the scourge of society. Sooner or later, I'll take every single one of you down, Joey fiercely declared. Her words made the crowd cackle tauntingly. There were thousands of members of the Flying Dragons around, and they all thought she was bonkers. On the other hand, Caspian hoped that Joey would continue dragging things out so that they could hold out until Sylvia arrived with reinforcements. You should consider your predicament before you speak. You want to take out the Flying Dragons. How delusional of you. Garrett scoffed. Inspector Ezekiel, you buried the murder of Lillian Ziegler. You helped the Flying Dragons and the York family hide their crimes. Aren't you afraid of retribution? Joey continued questioning. Truth be told, I have Zachary York, the regional chief of the Two Lakes area, backing me up. Who would dare to lay a hand on me? Ezekiel announced proudly. Joey was startled. She finally understood why Ezekiel could act so brazenly. He had a powerful figure backing him up. You're a heartless bastard, Ezekiel. You're even going after innocent people. You deserve to rot in hell. Joey fumed angrily. You can curse me out to your heart's content. Either way, you're about to die, Ezekiel remarked smugly. You've done so many immoral and unethical things. Aren't you afraid of being investigated? Joey fired back. You don't need to worry about that. Want to know your fate? You tried to help Caspian escape and attack the authorities who were arresting him, so you were killed on the spot. That's the story everyone will be getting, Ezekiel said with a wicked smirk. Joey did not expect Ezekiel to be such a vicious person. He was even trying to label both her and Caspian as criminals. Just then, Nadia said, Inspector Ezekiel, do you have your eyes on this subordinate of yours? In that case, you can always just capture her and have your fun with her today. Joey's expression darkened. She could not believe just how depraved Nadia was too. Subdue Joey. I'm going to enjoy having two women at my disposal tonight. The person who manages to capture Joey will be given a chance to have some fun with her too. Ezekiel roared. When the men from the Flying Dragons and the Inspector General's office heard that, they were immediately fired up. Joey was an attractive woman too. It would be a shame to kill her just like that. Get that female inspector. Garrett ordered his men. Thousands of men charged toward Joey. Joey was frightened by the crowd that was coming at her. After seeing how critical the situation was, Caspian yelled, "Get in the car and leave. I'm going to kill them." Joey screamed as she drew two handguns. Caspian was exasperated. What was wrong with Joey? Did she think she was invincible? Why was she trying to single-handedly take on over 1,000 men? Still, he could appreciate her bravery and sense of righteousness. She was willing to save him and the three women at all costs. Joey aimed at the crowd surging toward her and fired away. Alas, there were too many of them. She could not get them all. The men from the Flying Dragons and some of the inspectors were rushing over to Joey like a crowd of frenzied zombies. Chapter 110, A Frenzied Bloodbath. Seemingly crazed, the men tried to capture Joey. Even though some fell after getting shot, the rest behind them did not back away. Seeing that thousands of men were charging at her, Joey decisively got into her car. However, she did not plan on fleeing. She would use her car as a weapon to strike the men down. Joey floored the accelerator, and the car shot toward the crowd. Cries of agony rang out as the car sent several men flying. The suddenness of the situation caught the men off guard. They did not think Joey would react in such an unhinged manner. When Ezekiel and Garrett saw Joey charging at the men with her car, they backed away at once. They were afraid of getting run over as well. Caspian watched as Joey barreled through the crowd. He was worried about her. There were too many of them. As more and more of them fell, her path would be blocked. Her fate remained the same. If he could only fight alongside Joey, they would have a fighting chance. All he could do now was hope that Joey could buy enough time for Sylvia and the reinforcements to arrive. Caspian believed the military unit had the means to locate him, though it would take some time. Either way, Caspian felt grateful toward Joey. Her arrival had created enough of a delay. As Willow, Miranda, and Zoe watched Joey charging through the crowd in her car, they hoped for a miracle too. They were also in awe of Joey's bravery. Joey was fully aware of the situation she was in. She could not keep ramming into the crowd. She had to find a way to save Willow and the others. Thinking about this, she started driving toward Willow and the other women. Alas, the road along the cliff of death was rough and uneven. Soon, the car bumped into a rock and the undercarriage was scraped. The car could no longer move. Joey was startled. She had no choice but to abandon the car and run. Upon seeing this, the men from the Flying Dragons were ecstatic. They rushed forward to surround the car. Then, they worked together to turn it over. Thankfully, Joey reacted in time and escaped from the car. She knew she would be doomed if she stayed inside, so she chose to fight instead. Once again, Joey began firing at the crowd. Apart from her handguns, she also brought a rifle and a lot of ammunition. Once again, cries of agony rang out among the crowd. Joey did not bother aiming. She simply fired in a sweeping motion at the crowd that was storming toward her. Just as she was about to replace the empty magazine, several men armed with machetes and metal batons lunged at her. In an instant, Joey jumped into the car to avoid the attacks. She had no time to refill her bullets, so she tossed aside her handguns and grabbed a rifle instead. She stood on top of the car and fired at the crowd. All at once, blood splattered everywhere. It was a ghastly sight. As they needed to capture Joey alive, the men did not use their guns to shoot her down. Ezekiel and Garrett had given the order, so they dared not disobey their superiors. As more and more men rushed at Joey, she had no choice but to leap off the roof of the car. As soon as she landed, she was surrounded by enemies. After running out of bullets, Joey grabbed 2 machetes from the ground and began to slash through the air. Though she was a woman, she was a fearsome fighter. Armed with 2 machetes, she managed to injure a number of her assailants. But as she was overwhelmingly outnumbered, she sustained a few injuries as well. Her blood soaked through her clothes. The sight of Joey fighting valiantly despite her injuries ignited a fire within Caspian. If not for the chains that were keeping him in place, he would have charged over to her and slaughtered all the bastards. Caspian felt a mix of emotions. If Joey survived this fight, he would make sure she became the head of the Inspector General's office. Meanwhile, at this moment, countless numbers of tanks and military vehicles were racing down the road leading to the cliff of death. The commanding procession made quite a number of the other vehicles on the road move to the side in fear. Quick, hurry up. Julian was extremely impatient. He wished he could fly over to Caspian's aid instead. He should have sent the helicopters. They were running out of time. If something happened to Caspian, Julian would not be able to answer to the king of Diatorin. All the vehicles were speeding toward the cliff of death. Tonight, it was going to turn into a bloody battlefield. Back at the cliff of death, the situation was getting quite dire. Joey had suffered countless injuries. She was bleeding profusely and starting to weaken. Still, she stood her ground and continued to fight. She was prepared to die. To her, it was a small sacrifice to make as she attempted to do what was right. Willow, Miranda, and Zoe were teary-eyed as they watched while Joey stubbornly continued to fight in spite of her injuries. They were touched beyond words. Joey was the epitome of righteousness. No one else was more suitable to be an inspector than her. Even Caspian, who had fought numerous battles, was moved by Joey's actions. She was strong-willed and steadfast. He knew that with proper training, she would make something of herself. At the same time, he silently cheered her on. He hoped that she could hold out until the end of this fight. He was going to make her the head of the Inspector General's office. After sustaining serious injuries, Joey seemed to have gone into a frenzy. Ignoring her wounds, she slashed wildly with her machetes. Her stubbornness and ferocity scared the men who continued to surround her. Nevertheless, they outnumbered her by the thousands. If they could not even catch a woman, they would be utterly humiliated. Just then, someone managed to hit Joey on the back with a baton. Caught off guard, she crumpled forward. Joey used her left hand to avoid slamming into the ground, but she continued to swing the machete in her right hand. She dared not stop, for the weapon was the only thing keeping her safe. Even Caspian had a hard time stomaching the dreadful fight. Joey's life was in danger. Caspian could not stand by and do nothing. He struggled as hard as he could to escape from the chains and the pair of handcuffs restraining him. Due to his forceful movements, the wound on his leg ripped open and started bleeding, but he could not afford to stop. Joey was in a perilous situation. He had to find a way to save her. She had lost too much blood and could not hold on much longer.